Germany bears a huge responsibility. I said it on Deutsche Welle. Germany has blood on its hands. The blood of the innocent children and women and men that we see in Gaza is on German hands. The European Union is responsible on multiple levels. First of all, we have to distinguish, if we can, between the EU as a sort of a federal body and the individual member states. And there is complicity at both levels. Many of the individual EU states do extensive arms trade with Israel. They supply weapons to Israel. And many of them trade with Israeli settlements specifically, which is part of the overall EU support of profiting from Israeli war crimes, in this case in the West Bank and the Golan Heights, Syria's Golan Heights. But all that trade enriches Israel, provides revenue to the Israeli government to enable Israel to buy weapons to kill Palestinians. Now, when we talk at the EU level, the complicity is also immense, and it spans everything from financing and promoting trade, providing a multilateral framework to further integrate Israel into the European Union. Indeed, Israel is treated almost like a member state of the EU, under the so-called association agreement, which was signed in 2000. And at the diplomatic and political level, we see, the discourse of the EU now. For example, as we're speaking this morning, I just saw a statement from the European Union condemning Hamas rockets and reaffirming Israel's so-called right to self-defense. This comes a day after Israel massacred more than 40 people sleeping in their beds, hiding in their homes in Al-Wahda Street in Gaza City, including 16 women and 10 children. The youngest 6 months old, the eldest 84 years old, wiping out 17 members from one family. And this is only one of the atrocities we've seen in the last week. The European Union was silent about that massacre. They didn't mention it. And they're condemning the resistance. They identify with the oppressor. They see themselves as Israel. Discursively, politically, economically, that's the side they're on. And from that flows all of their material support for Israeli war crimes, which I mentioned includes helping to finance and support Israeli settlements through trade, directly helping the Israeli army through weapons sales and arms trade, and helping to develop the technologies that are tested on Palestinians by murdering them through so-called scientific research. The German political elites, from Chancellor Merkel on down, claim that supporting Israel is, they call it in German, Staatsräson, the raison d'être of the Federal Republic of Germany. And this is supposedly an atonement for the Holocaust. The German support for this criminal regime is not addressing the legacy of the Holocaust, but is simply displacing German guilt. What is Germany paying for the Holocaust when they support Israel? They're not paying anything. They are forcing Palestinians to pay the price of Germany's crimes. Now, some of what we discussed today in terms of German complicity in Israel's crimes, I talked about in a live interview on Deutsche Welle a week ago. They had invited me for a live interview to talk about the situation. And I made the points that I made, that Palestinians are sick of paying the price for guilty German consciences, that Germany and its political elites are making Palestinian children in the Gaza Strip pay with their lives for the crimes of the German state against European Jews. And this is something we cannot tolerate, and that people in Germany need to know. And it was quite surprising that the next day, Deutsche Welle, the network, which is a German state-funded media, issued a public statement through the Deutsche Presseagentur, the German press agency, saying it regretted that it had interviewed me and that I had made anti-Semitic statements. And I wrote to Deutsche Welle and asked them to provide a transcript of my interview indicating exactly which statements I made were anti-Semitic. Of course, they have not done that because nothing I said was anti-Semitic, and they libeled me. But even more shocking, following my interview, and apparently as a direct result of my interview, the Deutsche Welle management issued internal guidelines which people shared on social media. This was apparently an internal memo from Deutsche Welle instructing all of its staff on the limits of speech when it comes to discussing Palestine and Israel's crimes there, including banning the use of the terms apartheid and colonialism. So extreme censorship from German state media. You know, we're told correctly that equating Jews with Zionism or with Israel is anti-Semitic because we don't blame Jews collectively for what Israel does. But the German policy of Staatsräson, of raison d'être, of support for Israel, is anti-Semitic because it claims that in order to support Jews, you must unconditionally support Israel and be silent about its crimes. The issue is very simple. Anti-Semitism, as I understand it, and I think as everyone else should understand it, is discrimination or prejudice or harm caused to Jews just for being Jews. That's it. You know, that it doesn't require more explanation than that, and it's easy to recognize. But because that definition doesn't serve the political purposes of Israel, there's a whole industry to create new definitions of anti-Semitism, including the so-called IHRA definition, the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance. And that definition is primarily focused on suppressing criticism of Israel. It, first of all, it's a very vague definition. It contains words like anti-Semitism is a certain regard for Jews. What's a certain regard? What does that mean? It doesn't define it. But then it provides 11 examples of supposed anti-Semitism. 7 of them involve criticism of Israel. So we can see that this definition is designed to silence criticism of Israel and to smear those who criticize Israel or who defend Palestinian rights as anti-Semites. In other words, to delegitimize totally any support for Palestinian rights. Well, it's very clear what Palestinians collectively have asked for, which is solidarity in the form of boycott, divestment, and sanctions. Israel views BDS as a major threat because it is a movement that is based on grassroots support, not on support from political elites. And naturally, expectedly, European political elites, along with the Israeli state, have waged a major campaign to vilify and defame and lie about the BDS movement by claiming falsely that it's anti-Semitic. But we have seen people across Germany challenging that and indeed winning important court victories in Germany against municipal authorities that have tried to ban Palestine solidarity groups from using public facilities on the basis that they're promoting BDS. So the message I want to give to people in Germany and across Europe is not to be intimidated by your unaccountable governments, not to be intimidated by the unelected, undemocratic, and unaccountable European Union, but to defend your own rights to free speech and to continue your solidarity with Palestinians, because your countries are playing a key role in the oppression of Palestinians, in the occupation of their land, and the killing of their children. Your governments have blood on their hands, but Palestinians take immense hope from the strong solidarity across the European continent, and very much hope to see that continue.